Those words hit me like a slap across the face, but I kept my voice steady while my fingernails dug crescents into my palms. Across from me, Helen McBride sat in her glass corner office, the Chicago skyline glittering behind her like a mocking backdrop to my career's funeral. Helen McBride, mid-50s, blazer stretched too tight, smile polished to perfection. She leaned back in her leather throne, voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Camille, you're absolutely brilliant, but Rachel, she's got that spark. People genuinely enjoy being around her. She's just easier. Easier, not more capable. Not more accomplished. Not more results-driven. Just easier." I was 41, and I joined Westlake Strategies 6 years ago at 35, abandoning my comfortable teaching job to dive headfirst into the corporate shark tank. 6 years of midnight oil, last-minute presentations that saved impossible accounts. And fixing other people's disasters. I'd doubled our Midwest portfolio, completely redesigned their broken training system, and personally saved this company $2 million in operational waste. But Rachel? With her Instagram-worthy lunch photos and carefully curated a girl boss quotes plastered across her cubicle? She was getting my promotion. I watched Helen pretend to shuffle papers, clearly expecting me to thank her graciously and slink away defeated. Instead, I slid a crisp white envelope across her mahogany desk. "I appreciate the feedback," I said with the calmest smile I could muster. "Here's my resignation. Effective 2 weeks from today." Helen's polished composure cracked like ice. "Camille, wait. Let's talk this through." "No need," I interrupted smoothly. "You were crystal clear, and I'm laser-focused on outcomes. That's exactly why I'm leaving." What Helen didn't know, what nobody had noticed, was that while Rachel was busy people-pleasing, I'd been quietly building my own leadership development firm. Fully registered, steadily growing, and profitable since Q2. I didn't lose today. I just outgrew this suffocating room. If every word of this story feels like it was ripped from your own life, hit that subscribe button, because what Camille does next will prove that walking away isn't surrender, it's strategy. At the perfect setup as I stepped out of Helen's office, I felt the electric shift ripple through the river north floor. Conversations died mid-sentence, heads swiveled, and I could practically see Rachel already measuring my old desk for her motivational posters, but I moved with calculated calm, returning to my workspace like it was just another ordinary Monday. Because tucked inside that resignation envelope was a second document, one that would make Helen choke on her artisan latte when she finally read it. The next 2 weeks became pure theater. Rachel practically floated through the office, latte in hand, basking in her imaginary spotlight. On day 4, she leaned over my cubicle wall with that insufferable smug grin. "Cam, I hope you're not too devastated about the promotion. I mean, I know you really wanted it." I met her gaze while quietly backing up 3 years of metrics, training manuals, and workflow optimizations, not to steal, but to document every single dollar saved, every system I designed, every victory that would soon have her name attached to it. "No hard feelings at all, Rachel," I replied with ice-cold sweetness. "You'll absolutely shine." She strutted away satisfied, completely oblivious to what those results were actually built on. 3 years ago, drowning in frustration, I'd started developing my own adaptive team performance software. Not on company time, not with their resources. Entirely my own creation. And last week? The patent was approved. That second page of my resignation detailed its staggering impact, millions in revenue and retention improvements. All tied directly to my intellectual property. The phone call that changed everything. 1 week later, my phone buzzed with an email from Jared Lewis, CEO of Architect Solutions, Westlake's biggest competitor, over coffee at a downtown cafe. He didn't just offer me a job. He offered me equity, autonomy, and a future worth building. "We've been waiting for someone exactly like you," Jared said, sliding a partnership contract across the marble table. "Someone who understands that outcomes, not office politics, build lasting legacies." As I signed that agreement, something fundamental shifted inside my chest. This was what real recognition felt like, not applause for being agreeable, but respect for delivering results. The final confrontation on my last day at Westlake has. I returned my access badge. Helen summoned me to her glass-walled office one final time. The polished composure she always wore had completely shattered. Camille, her voice actually trembled, we need to discuss this report you attached to your resignation. She held up the printed document with shaking fingers. Why didn't you ever tell us about this platform you built? I settled into the chair. Across from her, smoothing my navy blazer with deliberate calm. I did. 3 separate proposals over 2 years. You dismissed every single one, saying your priority was improving interpersonal chemistry across departments. Her eyes darted across the pages, color draining from her face as the numbers sank in. Operational savings, automated workflows, predictive project forecasting, and this is patented, she whispered. I nodded. Filed last fall, fully approved. And I've accepted an equity partnership at Architect Solutions. They're already preparing to scale it company-wide. Helen's sharp exhale cut through the silence. Architect? Camille, no, that's our primary Midwest competitor. What about loyalty? I tilted my head slightly. Loyalty? You mean when you rewarded Rachel's charm over my contributions? Or when you buried my proposals because I didn't host enough happy hours? She opened her mouth, but I wasn't finished. If you'd valued output over office politics, we wouldn't be sitting here. We'll match their offer, Senior Vice President, just stay. I stood up slowly. It was never about the title, Helen. It was about being valued. As I walked away, I heard frantic dialing behind me. But the damage was already done. If you believe respect should be earned, not begged for, and you're ready to see Camille's ultimate victory, smash that subscribe button because you won't want to miss what happens when she goes from underestimated to unstoppable. Stepping into the light. My first day at Architect Solutions felt like stepping into an alternate reality. Gone were the beige walls and passive-aggressive Slack threads. My new office overlooked Lake Michigan through floor-to-ceiling windows, complete with a nameplate reading, Camille Bennett, Partner, Strategy and Systems Innovation. But the real transformation wasn't the title, it was the respect. Jared held a full company meeting to welcome me, but this wasn't typical corporate theater. He told my story. He spoke about the platform I'd developed, its measurable impact, and how it was already revolutionizing how firms operate. Camille isn't here to fill a role, Jared announced to the packed conference room. She's here to lead a new frontier. Her work has saved millions, it's brilliant, it's proven, and this is just the beginning. At Westlake, I was a ghost behind the curtain. At Architect, I was the architect in the spotlight. 3 months later, my phone buzzed during a strategy workshop. A message from Tarek Henderson, one of the few sharp minds still trapped at Westlake. Check the news. Something big just dropped. I slipped into my office and pulled up the devastating headline: Westlake Strategies loses 30% of clients after Q2 systems breakdown. The article was absolutely brutal. Missed deadlines, exploding budgets, 3 flagship clients gone. The report described Westlake's internal systems as fractured, outdated, and alarmingly dependent on undocumented processes. But one quote stopped my heart: "Service has completely collapsed," said Thomas Kwan, CEO of Terra Nova Solutions. "We once trusted Westlake with enterprise-level integrations. Now they can't even deliver basic timelines. It's like the backbone of their operations just disappeared." I smiled, sunlight streaming through my Lake Michigan windows. I was that backbone. The system they'd undervalued, dismissed, and carelessly handed to someone with zero understanding of how to sustain it. A second text from Tarek: "Rachel's having a complete meltdown in the break room." I leaned back in my leather chair, watching sailboats drift across the sparkling lake. I didn't need revenge, I had results. If you've ever been dismissed, sidelined, or passed over for someone louder but far less capable, hit that subscribe button because Camille's rise is just getting started, and what comes next will shift the entire industry. Building an empire. While Rachel was finally exposed and Helen watched her decision unravel in real time, I had bigger moves in motion. At Architect, my system wasn't just running, it was revolutionizing. Project timelines slashed by 52%. Client satisfaction scores hitting all-time highs. Operational KPIs off the charts. Jared had already approved full-scale rollout across all divisions, and 3 Fortune 100 companies were negotiating to license my platform. They'd underestimated me. Now they were desperately trying to catch up. The promotion that mattered 6 months after leaving Westlake, I walked into my office to find Jared holding a folded copy of the Chicago Business Ledger. Have you seen this? The front page headline read, Westlake Strategies announces emergency restructure amid mass departures and system collapse. They tried rebuilding your platform in-house, Jared said, but they didn't understand the foundation. They thought it was just code, I replied. But it was the logic behind the code that made it scalable. Jared's knowing smile spread slowly across his face. Which is why the board voted unanimously to promote you. Starting Monday, you're our Executive Vice President of Strategic Innovation. You haven't just improved our systems, you've changed our entire direction. A warm glow spread through my chest. This was what recognition should feel like. The apology that came too late that afternoon, as Chicago's skyline glowed golden in the sunset, an unexpected email landed in my inbox from Helen McBride. Subject: Apology Camille, I assume you've heard what's happening at Westlake. I want you to know, I was wrong. Dismissing your work was the worst mistake of my career. The board knows now. They know what you built and what we lost. I resigned last week. Rachel stepped down a month ago. Turns out deliverables don't respond to charm. I know it's too late to change what happened, but you were right. Results do matter. I just wish I'd seen that sooner. Best, Helen, I read it twice. There was a time when this message might have mattered. When even late recognition could have healed old wounds, but that time had passed. In my corner office, sunlight glinted off my framed patent certificate. Behind me hung a polished plaque from our highest performing quarter. On my shelf sat a fresh copy of Forbes, open to a feature naming me one of the top 10 women redefining tech innovation. Helen's message wasn't a reckoning anymore, it was just a footnote. I clicked reply, thank you for your message. You're right, results do matter. I wish you well in what comes next. Building something bigr. The next morning, I called a full team meeting. The room filled quickly, engineers, analysts, designers. Not one person was there for show. They were here because they cared. Before we discuss our next major rollout, I want to share a story. Not about strategy or code, but about value. About recognizing it in others, and never letting anyone else define your worth. Heads nodded, eyes sharpened. This company, our company, wasn't running on image or ego. It was built on integrity, courage, and the belief that quiet strength, when aligned with purpose, creates unstoppable movements. Full CIRCLA that evening. Driving past Westlake Strategies, I slowed at the red light. Their once proud logo looked weathered now, dimmed by time and consequence. A for lease sign blinked weakly in the 4th floor window, but I didn't feel smug. I felt grateful they didn't see me. Grateful they dismissed what I created. Grateful that in pushing me out, they set me free to build something extraordinary, because sometimes the greatest gifts come disguised as rejection. My phone buzzed. Westlake's board is asking about you. They want to know if you'd consider coming back as CEO. I stared at the screen, then slowly typed back, appreciate it, Tarek, but I'm exactly where I need to be. Because real success isn't about going back to prove anyone wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The real beginningas I pulled into my Lincoln Park townhouse garage. I thought about all the other Camilles out there, quiet professionals doing exceptional work, constantly overlooked because they don't shout the loudest or play political games. Maybe this story will reach one of them. Maybe it'll be the sign. They need to stop waiting for approval and start building without it. That night, reviewing global licensing proposals for the system I once built in secret, I felt deep, unshakable peace. Above my desk, framed in matte black, hung the quote Helen once threw at me like an insult, "You're too focused on results." She wasn't wrong. That focus brought me here, to leadership, innovation, clarity, and the place I was always meant to stand, on my own terms. If you've made it this far, thank you. This story wasn't just about me, it was about every person who's been told they were too much, too focused, too serious, or not enough in all the wrong ways. If you saw yourself in this journey, drop a comment below. Tell me where you are in your own story. Because I know how lonely it feels when you're doing the work, getting results, but still getting passed over. You're not invisible. You're not imagining it. You're not asking for too much when all you want is respect for what you bring. If this moved you, please subscribe. Not just to follow what happens next, but to join a community that believes in quiet strength, earned success, and resilience without spectacle. Stop waiting for permission. Stop shrinking to fit their comfort. Don't let someone else's inability to see your value make you stop believing in it. Use their doubt as fuel. Use their silence as space to create. This is your sign. This is your moment. You don't have to prove them wrong. You just have to prove yourself right.